to the week in culture. Welcome to the week in culture. Welcome to the week in culture. We push back, push back.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Arcade. My name is Brian. I'm here with John, the problematic white guy, and this is the Week in Culture, where we discuss the cultural news of the week and try to dig deeper than others. We're going to dig really deep this week because we are going to be talking about Slay the Spire 2 and the resultant controversy and the history behind it, which is, it goes way before Slay the Spire 2 even existed. So before we get started, though, John, how are you doing today?
Oh, awesome as always. Been up for about an hour and a half or so. Actually got a good amount of sleep last night, and fairly
Well, that's
well
good.
rested. So yeah,
Is that you don't normally run?
I have no real set schedule, so it's like it could be anything. But yeah, last night I actually got done with the stream shortly after midnight. Midnight East Coast, so I think I laid down like right around midnight my time, and next thing I knew it was like 8 a.m. So I fell asleep, like actually got like close to 8 hours of sleep for once. So I don't know. I'm not gonna complain about it, but yeah, no, everything's awesome, and I'm ready to rock. Yeah, how are you doing?
Well, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Doing all right. I had to do a lot of I was doing some let's say digging in history, in the history of like what we're going to be talking about today, because it's something that I've been involved with. I mean, I obviously didn't know it was going to become like a big thing, but I've been dealing with this for a long time. And it's funny because, well, I'll just say this. It's very, let's say, I'm vindicated. I'm vindicated because I've been trying to get people to recognize this problem for a long time. And I think that it's becoming, apparent that this was something that we should have known about. Now,
Right.
We're going to talk a little bit about Slay the Spire 2 and what has happened with it. And I think it's actually kind of like an interesting conversation on its own. And I will explain why when we get into it. But first, I just want to give people a couple minutes to get into the chat so I can say hello to them. I see we have a couple people sprinkling in on YouTube. Maybe these shows are a little too early for folks. We have a few in the vertical as well. So
Yeah.
Welcome to the stream. Hit the upvote if you don't mind.
Well,
And,
I know.
yeah.
I know the people that might be here to watch me have to make a decision today because Will had to postpone the Thursday show for the last couple of days. I guess to going live now as well. So,
Oh, is he going live right now?
yeah. He forgot what time this started. So like I'm like, yeah, well, I'll stop by after I get done. But so there might be a few less people in here because maybe that.
Yeah. Well, I'm that's okay. I can understand. Like taking a back seat to Will's show, but I mean, maybe we'll collab sometime because I think that I guess if you care about what's going on with the culture and where it's coming from, unless you already know where it's coming from, it might not be a bad idea to talk about it. I did do my live stream with Andy Pants Gaming, and I told them what I was doing with regards to this. So I think that we will be getting some of that traffic after the stream is over. They'll probably give it a watch. Because I was going to give this its own video, but what I will probably do is take this live stream and then just cut out the bit and turn it, and then make that into a video afterwards because I already have the content. So, all right. So anyways, please hit the like and all of that. Let's start talking about Slay the Spire 2. So, if you guys don't know, Slay the Spire is a roguelite deck builder thing, I think. It is it's a roguelike deck builder sequel to the original Slay the Spire, where you craft a unique deck, encounter bizarre creatures, and discover relics of immense power. and I guess it's in early access right now, but it is very popular with people now. I just noticed that it was like a really big thing because it's like an indie title, and it's
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of unique in it, what it offers. Like I said before, I don't play these kinds of games, but I saw that this was going on, and originally I was just sort of like, okay, well, that exists, like it, whatever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always happy to see that small studios are doing well, and it has like a unique approach to gaming. Again, it's like a deck builder. I guess it's like, if you're into things like Magic the Gathering, maybe I'm wrong. Has anybody in the live chat played Slay the Spire or Slay the Spire
Uh,
2?
no, I remember. I think I got a free copy through my PSN account at one point in time, but I
The
never
original
played it.
one?
But yeah, the original one. But my one of my good friends, he used to play it all the time, but I never got into it, so I really can't
Yeah,
say
yeah.
too much about the game itself.
Yeah, like last year there was another game called Balatro. Is that also a
Hmm.
deck builder that won
I believe
like a
so.
lot of
Yeah,
awards? Yeah.
yeah,
So this is like a pretty popular genre.
yeah.
And for the early part, like after release, it came out in March and it was overwhelmingly positively rated. It sold very well. Um, and so like it was a really popular game. And then someone revealed that in the credits for the game, which I guess it's a game you can actually finish, in the credits for the game was revealed a name in terms of like who they were giving a
Hmm.
special credit to, and that name was Anita Sarkeesian, and this caused a bit of a kerfuffle, you might
Yeah,
say.
I was gonna
So
say someone's
yes, you might say that.
cue the record scratch sound. You know.
Yes, and it triggered a wave of review bombs. At least people are describing it as review bombing on Steam. Um, so yeah, and despite the game's strong launch and positive, reviews or positive reception for its gameplay. So the thing that is, let me read some of the reviews. I'll just do it
Mm,
this way, okay? So let's look at the positive reviews first. I'll read a couple of them. Um, Okay, so here's one recommended. Start run, get good cards, feel unstoppable, die to something stupid, sit there for 10 seconds, start another run, one more, one more, one more. Love this game, works good on Steam Deck, even played it while work. Whoopsie. So like for the most part, they like the game itself. The
mhm.
core loop is untouched and rightly so. Climb, build a deck, die to something that felt unfair but probably wasn't, and go again. What's changed is everything around that loop, and it adds up fast. The new enchantment system gives cards a second life. The boon encounters and act transitions are meatier than the old boss relics. Even the colorless cards, which were basically skip fodder in the original, are now worth actually reading. There's a lot of like inside baseball going on with
Mhm.
this comment, so I can't relate to any of it.
Right.
The two new characters are the real delight. The Regent plays unlike anything in the first game, slow, deliberate, building toward one massive payoff strike instead of the usual incremental pressure. Several failed runs just to understand what the character is even supposed to be doing, which is exactly the kind of learning curve a good roguelike demands. Um, then there's another one. I just beat Doormaker and still could have beaten another one. Get better equals get less tears. Uh, then there's another one, genuinely phenomenal game. If you were a fan of the first, buy this confidently. It's better in virtually every way. Mechanics are refined and elaborated on. Build diversity is impressive. When he says diversity, he means in like the decks, not
Mhm.
anything else.
Right.
The cast of characters is varied and fun, and the addition of multiplayer is a huge fun boost. I cannot recommend this highly enough. Exactly. Here's another one. Helldivers left a toxic concept that made people review bomb if the games they love don't go their way. This game is beautiful and still in early access, giving you so many different kinds of runs to choose from, and every run feels different. Even despite that, there's so many potential runs you can have that feel so fun to play and mess around with. I cannot wait for more amazing content, and the balance changes thus far have been super agreeable. Keep up the amazing work, Mega Crit. Slay the Spire 1 was fantastic, and this one is even more superb in my eyes. It's a weird thing to start off by saying Helldivers left a toxic concept. I guess they're trying to address the the downvoting, so the
Right.
review bombing stuff. So let me see. Can I sort this by negative
Well,
reviews?
Helldivers was 2 was fairly well received up until Sony went and pulled their bullshit.
Yeah,
And
it was
that was
mainly the what they were talking about Helldivers too. Mainly
yeah.
their issue. And I okay, let's look at these negative reviews. Okay, mainly the issue is yeah, like you said, it was the Sony's like involvement in terms of like the localization or whatever it is. They were
Mhm.
not localization, but the region locking
The
that they
region
did.
locking, yep.
Yeah, and that was mainly it. Sometimes people will like, they'll review bomb or they'll leave negative comments if developers change things in a way that they don't like they nerf this thing or they buff this
Mhm.
thing or whatever.
Or
But
you
I
lose
mean,
access to
that's
the game completely.
yeah, but that's sort of like par
Yeah.
for the course of any game. That's sort of like constantly evolving. Like any competitive shooter, if they change something, there's going to be some butt hurt over it. But even with the problems with what Sony did, I think the review bombing was justified, and I don't think anyone is upset about that because
Right.
it's sort of like, well, this is a really shitty thing. Now, I don't think Arrowhead is to blame,
No.
but it doesn't really matter because they're still going strong. So okay, so somebody said try sorting by most helpful. I'm not sure if there's a way to do that, but I will say, yeah, but I will read some of these. I guess you can change the playtime, but okay. So here are some. Not recommended. I'm usually not someone who writes reviews, but after 10 hours on the new patch, I felt genuinely disappointed. So this is mostly about the gameplay stuff. So they have complaints about that. All right. So here's another one. Development philosophy needs to shift away from preventing players from deck building in a deck builder. Great game on its surface, but will suffer with more changes like that of recent. Maybe I need to. When did we find out about Anita getting involved with the game? Maybe it was a little later.
Yeah, I think it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I think initially people probably wouldn't be aware of it because they weren't looking for it, and it took someone actually finishing the game to see it in the credits.
Yeah.
Or going into the credit menu. Who knows how they have it set up?
Okay. Recently posted. Here we go. So today is the 8th. None of these have come in yet. So there are people who are basically saying they want a refund, and they want it because of Anita Sarkeesian's involvement. So let me. I think I have a summary over here. Somebody said, if you hover over language on that screen, you will see the majority of the recent negative reviews are coming from China. Why? I have no idea. Well, I mean, but that they're talking about the mechanics of it because there were people that were literally asking for refunds because they learned that Anita Sarkeesian got a special, like say a special thanks from the team, and that's what
Consultation
I'm
work.
talking about. Yeah. So, let me see. Including off-topic review activity. No. Steam purchasers. I don't. Well, hold on. I'm just trying to like sort this out because I did see them yesterday. I wonder if they took some of the bad reviews down. Can they do that?
Quite possibly. I mean, yeah, it's my choice. If there's ever anything you see that you think is
Yeah, it
worthy of
says
showing other
simplified
people,
Chinese, mostly
screenshot it.
negative, but yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you ever find anything like that on the interwebs, it's always one of those things where it's like you have to screenshot it when you find it, just in case it's not there.
Yeah. Here we go. Most helpful.
Especially these days.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the English ones, and they're mostly talking about the mechanics, which is fine that they have issues with. But I know I saw that the Anita thing was a big part of why people were reacting in the way they did, and it's been on like side scrollers and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Norwegian has a comment in the chat. He found a review.
Yeah. Found this review on my end. Anita Sarkeesian, really do a background check next time before you hire someone. Literally a Google search. The future of the game doesn't look promising if you keep. Yeah. There was a lot of those. Like there was a lot of those. and let me load more reviews here. But I feel like I'm not seeing them now. But okay, so that's kind of weird. That is really strange because I really did see them, and yeah, I'm not seeing a lot of comments that mention, and I even have it filtered to be helpful. And I mean, I don't know if that's why, because I don't know how you determine what's helpful. But
The rankings that people put on them and whatnot. So
yeah, so it's kind of like Reddit. Like you can get
yeah.
like karma, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
People can
people are
give you
complaining
different
about
awards
like
and all
it not
that kind of
running well on
stuff.
Steam Deck and stuff like that. So, all right,
Can
let's
you do a keyword search?
most recent. Huh?
Can you do a keyword search and just look for Anita?
I don't see that. But
Okay.
yeah, that's what like I don't see that here. I don't use because I'm in the Steam app on my computer,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So okay, but it's a good thing that I'm gonna edit this out. But like later on.
Right.
But I just, it's actually kind of like really interesting that I'm not able to find that many because there were a lot yesterday. Literally yesterday, I was looking at it, and I'm not able to find them very well. But
What time
it's
were you looking at
fine. I think if
yesterday?
they take them, if they remove them, or if people are removing them, then you think, and I have it like narrowed. But
'Cause I
okay,
mean,
okay,
depending what time of day it was yesterday, that you never know. They might have a community manager's task might be to go through and
yeah.
try to scrub shit before they leave on Fridays.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant ultimately. So basically, uh, excuse me. So it's still like a really successful game. So like this hasn't
Mhm.
really done that much damage to the brand, which is an important thing to point out.
Right.
It's one of
Well,
the
this
biggest indie launches ever on Steam. It has over 500,000 concurrent players and
yeah,
millions of copies sold.
didn't this
So,
also have like a really short announce window from when it announced to when it was able to be purchased? Because I know it had like a lot of people who played the first one, and then
mhm.
if it was just something that was quickly available, people don't know about it, and they're just remembering the first game. You know, I could definitely see just the initial kind of buy-in because people have goodwill towards it. So the revelation of Anita after the fact, I think that's where things will kind of develop from here, I guess, at this point. Because now
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of people who have their radar on it. Like I like I said, I had the first game and I never played it because it's just not my kind of thing. And so like this just it's like, all right, people like game. I don't that's not my, so I really didn't pay much attention to it myself either. But that's kind of stuff is, a lot of these people that we've had issues with in the game industry, they never just go away. They just they'll always probably be able to pull some kind of consulting gig, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Even and that's why it's kind of as great it would be to get rid of places like Sweet Baby and whatnot. All you end up doing is just giving the Hydra more heads because they just spread out and they get picked up elsewhere and they just go through the same cycle again. But I might be
Yeah.
getting too early on my opinion on that, but that's kind of where I
Yeah.
look at a lot of this stuff.
So, let's see what you guys are saying. Slay the Spire 2 has received negative reviews from China due to controversial balance changes, particularly those making the game harder, removing infinite combos, and buffing boss fights. But yeah, well, like I said, like there's probably those. There's obviously criticisms that are not like in any way political or cultural or associated with like people like Anita Sarkeesian, and that's again, it's probably a drop in the bucket compared to the people who are overwhelmingly happy with the game. So
Mhm.
like my issue is not like whether or not it's being review bombed by China or some other country for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Well, Norwegian's
Um,
saying that he's getting some good
yeah, he's in
stuff.
another
So
region, so I think he's
right,
able to
right,
see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
You have to use a VPN just to even get an idea of what's going on in your own country.
yeah. Yeah, so he's basically like relaying a couple. So he said, here's
Mhm.
another one. Shame, I'm well beyond the refund, but I'll be cautious about buying from Megacrit again.
Mhm.
Yes, and I guess like well, let me just read a couple of things here. So it's still overwhelmingly like popular. and it's overwhelmingly positive. All-time reviews 148,500. It's mixed at this point. They're saying that it's got mixed reviews. So that is at least saying something, because the recent reviews mostly negative. So and they're saying here, and this is actually what it reads on the Steam app, it says this product has experienced one or more periods of off-topic review activity. Off-topic review activity. Based on your preferences, the reviews within these periods have been excluded from the product's review score. So if I remove the off-topic stuff, then I could probably see
find it, right? Because that's what they're doing, is they're just it's a TOS policy evasion kind of
Yeah.
thing. Oh, well, you could just go and call it this, and as soon as you do that, we'll auto censor it for you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, they definitely have like a community manager that's going in and flagging shit then.
Yes. So they did do that. I still don't, but it's okay. You know what? I'm not going to sweat it. So yeah, so Steam is saying essentially there's somebody working at Steam that's basically hiding some reviews because they're off topic, right? And I guess technically it is in a way, but this is the thing though. People are trying to get the message out there that she was involved with the game. So the sharp drop in recent / all-time scores happened in early May of 2026, right after Anita Sarkeesian's name as a consultant alongside 2 others went viral on X and elsewhere. Thousands of new negative reviews flooded in, many explicitly citing her involvement, calling it a betrayal, a DEI grift, or referencing her past work. Some players who had already put in dozens of hours changed their reviews or attempted to refund the game. Some of them did refund the game. So this is the 3rd major review bomb wave. Earlier ones were from Chinese players. So the Chinese thing happened, but it was from before.
Right.
The Anita wave is largely English language and politically motivated. Many reviews acknowledge the game is still fun mechanically, but refuse to support the hiring decision. Critic reviews remain strongly positive, obviously, even after the controversy, probably especially after the controversy. Let's be real, praising it as a refined evolution of the original with new characters, co-op, etc. No major critic outlets have changed their tune over the credits. In short, the gameplay is still widely liked by most who play it, but the consultant credit triggered a dedicated wave of protest reviews that tanked the visible Steam score. Megacrit hasn't publicly commented on this situation. I checked again to see if Megacrit had anything to say. Most likely they're just going to remain silent because they know, they have to know, and maybe this is like, maybe I'm giving them too much credit, because I think that these people can't help themselves in virtue signaling. So they may come forward and call this harassment or death threats or rape threats or something like that, in order to sort of like justify supporting, Anita's involvement with the game and trying to own the chuds, as they say. So,
right. Well,
so
they already tried that in the sense that they said that it was politically minded. No, this is more of a populist minded kind of thing, because this is about pop culture and like, people that are within that framework more so than, like people do not like this shit. And, I guess the political end of it is them trying to insulate DEI and things like that. We don't make it political. That's not the thing. What we've been saying is you either do business with these fucking terrible people or you do business with your customers. And if you're going to do business with these people, your customers are not going to do business with you. That is not a politically minded thing. That is just, the fact that this woman has proven herself to be, terrible for the game industry. And a lot of people that are fans of playing video games want nothing to do with anything that's going to benefit Anita. That's not political. That's because she's just a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she is political, like she is.
Right, I know
like,
she is, but
yeah.
that's but what I'm saying is because of that. So, there you could say it has a bearing on politics because of her motivations, but people saying that I want to
No, and I know most people just don't like that she's destroying, like she's a part of the problem that's destroying our culture.
Right.
Yes, but I'm saying that her motive for doing it is political, and people who push back on it, you you are taking a political position when you push back on it, right?
I
You know,
suppose,
regardless, because you're saying no, 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 don't do that, don't bring that
but
poison.
well, I know
Or-
it's the interchangeability of things now. Like pop culture is politics, politics is culture, and it's like
well,
or-
yeah, I mean, politics is affected by culture.
right,
Culture is affected um by our worldview. It's by our value system, right? You could call it theological, but it doesn't have to be. Like basically the way we view the world, what we
Oh, yeah.
consider to be morality, what we consider to be like the, you know, how we view right and wrong. Those things, like those are like the very, very baseline things that from that comes the culture, and from the culture goes the politics. That's the natural way this stuff flows, right? That's why it's easy for us to say, well, this is just normal, because the flow, you know, is
right.
in the
But there's
correct
a little bit
direction.
of give and take though, because like once you implement things, those become it's aspects of people's just traditional outlooks and things like that. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
it, but yeah, it's
Well,
I
so
put
like
it
what? But the difference is though, what people like Anita do is they know that they can't actually
right,
make that natural flow, so they try to do something that's the reverse, where they basically operate top down. They say,
right,
well, I can use culture to affect people's politics, right?
right,
Or to affect people's worldview by altering it, by bringing this postmodern stuff in, that there's no such thing as truth and all of that. And that's where people get upset, because
right,
whether they know it or not, it doesn't sit well with them, because it doesn't feel right, because it isn't. It's like watching a waterfall, you know, go up, right? Like people are like, what's wrong with that? And they might say, well, then why couldn't it happen? You know, like, so anyway, we're getting a little bit in the weeds, but my point is that it, like, if you, even if you like, I guess to say that you are political doesn't necessarily mean that you're, you know, like lobbying.
Well, I
or
know. I'm just
voting
saying that I
like
think that their
your
framing of that
worldview
is a
is,
way to try to discount.
yeah.
You
Your
know,
worldview is your worldview. Like, no one
right,
doesn't have one. So if you have
right,
a value system, and you think that this is the correct way to be, and there should be a right way to be, there is, you know, we don't like murder and theft and stuff like that, and lying, you know.
right,
So then that means that you have like those baseline things, but people like Anita don't believe in that in the same way. You know, they think that
right,
lying is okay under, like, as long as the goal is, you know, is right or whatever. Maybe even, and murder is okay. We've
right.
seen the stuff that Hassan has said online. So like it's not like we're not in a kind of like, you
Oh,
know,
I know. I'm just saying
struggle
that
in that
to me,
sense.
I just looked at it as a way for them to kind of be dismissive, because in the instance of like say when these things are looked at, someone like Anita would say, well, this isn't political, this is about cultural enrichment, or some kind of
Well,
stupid bullshit,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like, this is just, it
Which,
seems like it's a way to just kind of say, oh, well, it's political. And it's like, well, it's political when it's certain people, but when it's others, then they get to sit here and they get to, so that's what I'm just saying, like
no, yeah. Well,
yeah,
she is trying to push her value system on
right,
people, and I don't mean just her. I mean like her, like everyone like her, intersectional
right,
feminists. Like this is
right.
their worldview. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
okay,
She herself is just an actor. The agency
she's the
that
queen
she
of useful
represents
idiots.
is
Yeah.
right. Yes.
She, but anyway, and yeah, so I got some comments here, and I want to get into but let me give you guys the thing I was going to pose. Okay, so this is the thing about this Slay the Spire 2 situation is kind of interesting, is you have a situation where you have a legitimately good game. Like, I wouldn't say it's not a good game. I never played it, but based on how people have reacted to it, based on how popular it is, it's got all of the markers, all of the signs of being a solid indie game, right? It's a small game, small team, you know, I guess addictive play loop. It's affordable, no microtransactions as far as I know, none of the normal exploitative stuff you might get out of a AAA studio. It's not a live service. You know, it's a very simple approach, very, very popular, and it's sold 500,000 copies, right? Which for a studio of that size is a massive success. So it's got all of the let's say characteristics of a success story, but it has Anita Sarkeesian attached to it. So the question is, and I'm not saying that because obviously she was just a consultant. So I don't know that she had a lot of effect on the
Right.
game itself. But then the question becomes something to think about, and I want you guys to tell me what you think. Is it wrong for people to review bomb purely based on the fact that Anita Sarkeesian was involved, or is that justified? And do you think that it's a deal breaker, even if it's not the kind of game that you would play? Let's say there was another game that you would play that's got all of the same characteristics. It's like it executes everything very, very well. It's very enjoyable. It's addictive. It's fun. It's affordable. It's not exploitative, but it has Anita Sarkeesian attached to it in some way. Like even if you don't know to what capacity she was, because with this we don't know. But all we know is in the credits, they thanked her. They were like, special thanks to Anita Sarkeesian and a couple of other people. Would that be a deal breaker for you? And I'll let you guys mull that over and give me a comment. I'll read some of your comments, and then I'll get John's thoughts. So you think about that question too. And then I'll give you mine. And what I'm also asking is, do you think it's right or wrong that this game has been review bombed, or at least there was a kind of like protest going on in the review section because people learned about her involvement? All right, so let me look at some of these comments. Keep that individual was left out for some reason on Rumble. Oh, maybe it ran out of characters. That's all. There's a character limit that goes through. So, let me see. I did hear Robert Johnson says, I did hear Steam temporarily suspended reviews on the game yesterday. Well, that might explain it, because yesterday I saw them. It was earlier in the day, but I did see them and I saw a bunch of them. And of course, Side Scrollers did a video on it. Vera Dark did a video on it. A few people did videos on it. Who?
Yeah, I said it's gaining steam right now.
Yeah, it's gaining steam.
Yeah.
Hex Zero says, who let women have jobs? Women have always worked, Hex. They've always worked. Norwegian says, there's another negative review that just says LGBTQ plus, so the devs very well might be left leaning. Oh, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, look, indie devs are not much better than AAA devs in their own way. They have their own struggles, because the problem is not necessarily the size of the studio, it's the people that work there. So
that, and there are a lot of indie dev houses that are really just shell corporate, or they're shell companies that are attached to the larger entities.
Dustborn.
Yes.
Yeah. What's
things
that new one that came out? I was thinking about covering that one too, but I don't know if we're gonna have time. That new one, it's a walking simulator. It's called Mixtape. You guys heard about Mixtape?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't know too much about it. But isn't it the same people who did Bloom and Rage?
Terrible.
Or
yeah, it's like Bloom and Rage, Life is Strange. No one wants to admit that Life is Strange was kind of like part of the problem, but it was. I mean, it may have been a better executed product, but it was still part of the problem in a way. NovaFan gives us $1 on Rumble. Thank you, NovaFan. Says, I saw this being talked about on Side Scrollers yesterday. I saw someone defend her by saying it was a good product. Commies want to use capitalism as a rope for capitalism to hang itself. Well, the game can be, it can be a good product, but still have people attached to it that you might want to reject on principle, regardless of the fact that it's a good product. So, NovaFan gives another $1 and says, I think Slay the Spire 2 can be inspiration for the inverse of Sweet Baby detected by having the inverse feminist approved. Okay. Zarang says, the thing is, she already been paid. It's kind of a great position for her. Her attachment generates free advertising. People will get it to review it so they can badmouth it. More eyes equals more potential money. Yeah, well, all bad press, all press is good press, right? I don't know that people are buying it. I think people already bought it, and then they're learning this and they're lamenting it. But I'm not sure people will buy it just to review bomb it. I don't know that that's going to be a big thing. So,
but I would say, given in terms of fairness, there are people out there who will say that if a game has any kind of AI systems that were utilized in its production, it's completely not worth your time, right? Even if it's not in the final artwork or anything like that, people are just using them for productivity tools, ways to kind of speed up the process, but they're still, but people will still freak the fuck out about that.
Yeah, there was something recent that had that.
Right. Yeah, it's even. I just saw an article headline. I think it was this morning or late last night about fucking the remaster for Horizon Zero Dawn used AI. So now are they going to go after that, even though it's LGBTQ plus
Why are we
insanity?
remastering that game? Like, really?
Right,
What?
right,
Oh
right.
my god!
But
I mean, I was like, you know what I'm interested in is that Gothic is getting a remake, but like I never heard of that one until I started doing interviews with some devs, and they were talking about Gothic, like it was basically
right,
like before Oblivion.
right.
But yeah, like
But
Horizon Zero Dawn that just came out. Like, why are we remaking games that are like less than a decade old?
right, right. But that's kind of my point is like these people, who will sit here and like you'll try to have some kind of great ethical moral imperative, as a
Hmm.
reason to not support something.
Oh yeah, no, they
And
wouldn't
then
do that to
like if
that.
you go and say, well, I don't want to do any business with somebody who does business with that person, right? Oh,
Hmm.
well, you're just being like, like you're attacking, you're going after somebody like that. How can you? It's like because you have your issues, and if people see that this person who has caused problems with just your prototypical gamer for a decade plus at this point, I think that people are justified in saying, yeah, I wouldn't want to buy anything that she's even an executive producer on, even if she didn't touch a goddamn thing and she's just given money just for being like, around. Like, but also at the same time, how many weird twisted things is Disney involved in, and yet people, still go to those movies and things like that. Like I mean, it is one of those things that when you find out, that's when you can actually make an informed decision, right? So, that's the whole thing that what we're living in now with the digital dark ages, the trying to opaque all that information that would make it more just common sense motivated for people to be like, oh, I'm not gonna do anything like that. So that's why they try to like make everything as walled off as it is these days and speak to us through arbitration courts and make opaque terms of service policies and all this kind of stuff, so that it's always about being able to prevent people to actually talk about the thing that is going to go against the machine. But if the machine wants to go against anything else, it's perfectly fine. So you know the ruffle that they put out about don't get games that are involved with AI, I think is the exact same level of don't get games that are involved with SBI or Anita Sarkeesian or so because it's the exact same kind of thing ultimately from a standpoint of what is the I guess surface level detail might be slightly different, but the
Hmm.
motivation and what the intention is effectively the same. So if it's perfectly fine for them to go after this, then if they're going to complain about people saying I don't want to do business with this kind of stuff, and so their only way to combat that is to try to hide the information. It's generally speaking, if you have to go and hide yourself, then you're probably not actually being prosperous and doing good works that people would actually want you to prosper from. You're a profiteer and just a greedy son of a bitch that's trying to bring more fucking darkness into the world, and that's Anita. Whether she knows it or not is another thing, but
Yeah, yeah. All right. Let me look at some more comments.
right.
So, let's see. Norwegian says game devs will just have to suffer more until the message has been received. Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, I won't say anything yet. Anita Sarkeesian has become detrimental to game development, and it's therefore legitimate that her involvement is a deal breaker.
Hmm.
Yep. Hex One says on my channel we go over how feminism is not a thing; it's just women's core nature. Words exist to dodge accountability. I would contest that. If you want to debate that sometime, I'd bring you on the channel because I think that feminism actually works against female nature to make them. That's why they're miserable, by the way.
Hmm.
As the world has become more egalitarian and more feminist, women have become more and more depressed and they're on more medications because
Right.
it goes against their nature. Anita Sarkeesian, if you remember, we're just talking about her. She recently had a birthday party that was she themed as a wedding where she was marrying herself.
Right.
Um, and she's not a happy person.
Yeah.
Because it actually goes against women's nature while convincing them it is for that, and it hurts them. And there's lots of it's well, I don't want to get too much into the history of that now because I have to go through the history of Anita Sarkeesian's involvement in our culture.
Right.
But I'll just say that I would contest that. So, and
Yeah.
I've been doing this talk about feminism for over 10 years. I think I've been doing
Yeah.
it
If
for about
anything, I
13
think that
years now. So,
there's more of
um,
an issue of them trying to just degenderize humanity in general. They're trying to
yes,
demasculate,
yes,
you
they're
know,
trying to make
demasculization and
yes,
defeminization, and just having
yeah. Like
everything
there
just
was,
be a
did you know that
prestige
there
thing.
was a rise in like women doing like strength training?
Mhm,
I mean, like serious strength training, like muscle mommies are like a
mhm.
big thing right now. It's because they're trying to position. There's like this push to make women think that they can be just like men. So
If
whereas
they
like being a bodybuilder was a male dominated area like not that long ago, and there was probably a lot of reasons for it. Women are trying to like get like to make it equal, right? And the truth is that that's just not the way women are, and women have been convinced too that being like a muscle mommy is something that men want. I remember there were videos of women with huge muscles, they're doing testosterone and everything else, and they're like, I don't understand why men don't like me. It's like because that's not what they're into. I mean, you'll
right,
find a guy that's into that, but I'm like the average man is not. And so
right,
like they're actually being um they're being directed against their nature. But because women tend to be agreeable, then they will and they also tend to be like more like herd mentality. Like if they think everyone else is doing a thing, that they're gonna do the thing because they
right.
want to fit in. They don't want to be excluded. They don't want to be like socially ostracized, so they try to go along to get along, and that's a good thing in a healthy society, but like
Mhm.
we're not a healthy society. So
Right.
I would push back on that, but if you want to, like I said, Hex, I'll talk to you about it on my channel sometime. Okay, so Hex One says, I don't believe in review bombing for any reason because it gives them the excuse that genuine dislike is a conspiracy. Okay, well, that's an interesting way to look at it too. Um, Norwegian says exactly. I don't know what that's in reference to. Robert Johnson says anyone who wants you to make a decision with less info is not looking out for your best interest. Yes. Women think they can all be Ripleys. The average man is not gay. Well, that's but again, there is a push to make men more like women and women more like men, like John said.
Mhm.
So it's basically to androgynize everybody, and that's what's happening. Like how many, like you notice that we had, and I did a video on my channel called Words I Refuse to Use, and it's a series, and one of the last ones I did was the word gender, because the word gender is a nonsense term, only
Mhm.
applies to language, but it's been used to sort of like blur the lines between the male and the female. So I only use the word sex, but even that word, they're trying to like androgynize that as well. And I
Right.
talked about how it used to be the case that we used to know the difference between like a cross dresser, a transvestite,
The
and a
transsexual.
transsexual,
Yep.
right? Like those were three different categories, right? A cross dresser was a guy that like maybe he's got a little bit of a kink where he wants to be dressed up like a woman, like
Mhm.
the guy was at the head of the CIA or the FBI, um,
Oh, Hoover.
J. Edgar Hoover,
Yeah.
like that. You had that kind, and then you had like, but they weren't women; they were still men.
Right.
It was just like a
Right.
kink, right? Then you had like the transvestite, which was a man who opposes a woman, and it was to engage in well, I don't know, like prostitutes. Like it was kind of like well, it wasn't always, but you had men that would pose like drag queens. That was another
Mhm.
category that was like a separate thing. It was like a performance. Maybe a lot of those guys were gay, but it wasn't seen as them being confused about whether or not they were
Right.
male or female,
Right. If
right? It
anything, they
was,
were making a farce about being women, and
yeah, they were kind of like doing a like a minstrel show as women. It
yeah,
was like it was intentionally, to
satirical.
be like funny and like
Yeah.
over the top. I went to a drag show like a long time ago with some lesbian friends of mine that wanted to go, and I was like, sure, I'll go. I'd never been to one before, and yeah, it was obviously just like very tongue in cheek, a lot of
Yeah.
innuendos, musical numbers, things like that. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
this isn't for me, but you guys are my friends, so I'll go to the thing and I'll get
Right.
drunk with you guys. So, but yeah, then there was transvestites, and then you had transsexuals, which was actual, what people call transgender now, which are men that want to live as women or want to live as women, and some of them would get surgeries. But the thing is that what I was saying is that at the time, the overwhelming majority of people who did that were men. So
Yeah.
there weren't as many women that wanted to be men. at the time. Mostly it was men, and even then it was a very small percentage of the population.
Right.
So it wasn't like it was like, consequential, and they didn't like go around demanding people use their pronouns or anything like that, right?
Right.
And then you had like this cultural movement, like with mostly online stuff, where they were really pushing this to the forefront. Of course, the gender theory came out of like the 50s, which again I talked about in my video. But then you had this spike. Now we have a massive spike in women that are trying to transition, and this is being pushed really hard. Now they're catching up to the men, so like that number that was almost nothing is now like significant, and I think that speaks to what you were saying, John, about
Right. Well, yeah,
you know,
and the weird thing too is like when you look at the game industry, because like there is a lot of transgender, developers within it, and a lot of that goes back to Danny Barry, the guy who made the Mule system on
mhm,
basically multiplayer online games, things like that. The guy who was behind that transition back in the 90s and was
yeah,
on a chemical cocktail and this and that, basically got cancer and died shortly thereafter. But knew full well that it wasn't like, it was a comfort thing. Clearly they had some level of abuse, whatever. But because of that, the woman who was the head of my game design department that I've mentioned before, Brenda Brathwaite, like, there's been like this whole just idolization of Danny Barry, within the game industry. And so a lot of that was how they got this stuff moving forward and kind of getting these initiatives into play to begin with. But yeah, the
mhm,
structures there specifically, ultimately for the undoing of uh, just, things that had common sense kind of mindsets going into it. And it's all been infiltrated by, these think
yeah.
tank type groups and things like that that are motivated by.
It is also a very handy way if you want to like lower the human population.
Mhm.
You basically get a bunch of
Get
dudes to
people
chemically
to, yeah,
castrate themselves,
that's
you
right.
know. Yeah.
Soft, yeah, soft kill genocides. Yeah.
Yeah, it is for sure. All right. So Norwegian says, I forget her name, but there was a lesbian woman who tried walking in men's shoes as an experiment and it drove her to suicide. Nora
Mhm.
Vincent. She wrote a book about it. Yeah. And I think at the time she thought that she was going to demonstrate male privilege, and it turned out she wasn't able to do it. And there's actually a number of trans men who have made videos about how lonely they are. If you guys remember those,
Right.
yeah. So because you can't do, I mean, Elliot Page, they're
Yeah.
trying to put her in things, and I'm just gonna say her. Sorry.
Yeah, if you're a
Um,
woman who tries to pass as a man, be prepared for a lot of heartache and fucking
yeah, it's
just
gonna be. Well, I mean, but you're not. You're neither though. Like
right,
that's the
right.
thing. Like you're not even. You're not even pulling it off,
Oh,
and
I
so
know, but
now
that's
you're
what I'm saying. You're
something that
trying
men don't
to,
want
right,
because you don't look like a woman anymore, and you're something that women don't want because you don't have the equipment, and
right.
so like you're screwed.
Right.
I
So
mean,
you not
it's
only have the complications of just kind of being a guy to begin with, but then you also just on the outward outset, but then even anybody who is willing to come within that, then you have to combat the fact that a lot of people don't like to be, you know, bamboozled. And so yeah,
yeah.
it's like you are setting yourself up for a sad state of reality. Especially if you are a woman who can passably, oh, I grew a beard, so now clearly everybody's going to think, all right, well,
Yeah.
welcome to a world of just shoulder all your own burdens and don't expect anybody to give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As it should be. Maybe you'll learn some stoicism. All right.
Right.
Um, but anyway, so what are your thoughts on the like what I suggested? What was that thing I proposed? Like if you found out that something really great
Oh, well, I
had
think
somebody involved.
I pretty accurately stated all my thoughts when I was saying that, it's like the AI thing. If there's a reason that people don't want to buy your product, even if you find it to be irrational, it's still a reason, you know.
Hmm.
And so, it's kind of like this whole concept of review bombing. I think there's reviews, and I think people call it review bombing because they are just
They
finding a
don't
way
like the
to discount
reviews.
it,
They
right,
don't,
and
yeah.
dismiss it. Yeah, so there's a lot of dismissive language in our culture these days that goes to just discount things and then just end the actual conversation rather than get into the meat of it. you know. And if you told somebody, well, I don't want to buy a game because this person's involved, they're like, oh, it's one person. It's like, well, this one person's connected to, we're doing an entire show on one person a day, you know. It's like there's a lot that goes into it. So I think
Yeah.
that you know, that's a very valid concern for some people, you know. And them going and having labels where they can go and mark things as off topic so they can just disappear it, you
Yeah.
know, on a standard search is, yeah, like that's the reality that we're living in, and that in and of itself is just a magnification of the initial problem, because that's what all this stuff goes back to, is the checkboxing and just, you know, taking out people's actual creativity from game design and things like that, and trying to say that, well, you have to meet all these metrics and you have to include all these lifestyle groups and blah blah blah. You know, what is it I'm always saying? Marketing, accounting, and legal account to malpractice in business, right? You know, that's exactly what this shit is. You know, like, this is part of the marketing. That's PR shit. Like, when you go and, especially a consultant like Anita, when she's all about her DEI initiatives and shit like that, that's specifically what it's going to be about. So, you know, I think that's a very valid reason for a person to not want to do something. And if a lot of people say that they don't want to buy your product because of that, then the game industry shouldn't take that as the problems on the people that are saying, I don't want you to do business with you because you're doing business with them. Who you're paying her. These people are paying you, right? And so if the people that are paying you are saying, I don't want to do business with you if you're paying her with my money, you know, and your solution to that is silence them, then get fucked,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, again, they haven't made a statement yet.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I basically line up with what you're saying, John. Like, basically voicing your opinions on something is, like, in this case, is like the only power that the consumer has to say, no, I'm not supporting this and this is why. It's basically just raising awareness about who is involved. After that, any other consumers can decide for themselves whether they want to give them money or not. It's not like they're saying this has to be removed from the store. It's
Right.
not like they're saying we need to, like, get these people's addresses and send SWAT teams to their house. They're just saying, you know, Anita's involved with this game. I'm not going to give it money. This is why you should look into what she has done, etc. And then leaving it like at that. And in a way, that's the only thing that is, you know, within the power of the consumer, of the user, to voice their opinions. It's the only thing they can do. So they might as well do it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I mean, I don't suspect that it's going to, like, change any minds in the company. Like, they're probably not going to, you know, change course or issue any statements, because they are in a way captured not just by their own by the consulting firms. Because remember what Kim Belair said, right? Terrify them with the possibility of what might happen if you don't give them what they want. I would imagine that Anita does the same thing, and I can actually give you an anecdote that demonstrates that, but I'll do that a little bit later. But yeah, like, but it's also because they're also captured ideologically in that they agree with all that stuff. So, Doomslayer 26 says, I already gave them my money. I would like my money back. You think you're going to get it back, though? I mean, I know that there's, like, a grace period, but, like, you might not be able to get your money back. Right. So, but I mean, what, you know, like I said, if you already bought the game, it's fine. Like, I don't think there's a problem with that because you didn't know.
Yeah.
But you know, but, like, and the game is probably good. Like, it's not like you bought Concord, you know, or
right.
Or
and that's the thing.
or something like that.
Right, and that's the thing in a lot of these instances, and again, why they're trying to opaque things and make it harder for people to actually find out information about stuff is, you know, if we all actually knew all the people who are involved in some of the things that we like, you know, some of the things we like might be a little bit tainted, and that's just kind of par for the course. But that's the whole reason on why, you know, you have to do your own research into things, and whatever level you find comfort with, you know, if you find it in the superficial aspects, cool. But, you know, something as nebulous as consulting and a special thanks, it's very hard to even find out about that. So when things like that do happen, all you can really do is kind of chalk it up to, all right, well, I have to be aware that this is out there now, and I could at least advise other people now that I know more about it, you know. So yeah, we've all probably picked up things that if we knew more about it, probably wouldn't, you know, on second, you know, opportunity. But that's just, That's kind of the nature of life. Unfortunately, we find that there's all sorts of people that are connected into things like George Soros. He pays for NGO bullshit for both sides of the political spectrum because his aims are ultimately for a one world government kind of thing. So like all of us have things that we've encountered that we don't know the full story on, unfortunately. And if we did, we probably would think differently about it. So
Yeah. Great Indoors, who's 19. He's always late to the streams. Always. Every stream we do, he's always late. He says, if the game itself is good, I wouldn't trash the game just because Sarkeesian is thanked in the credits. I would be wondering what precisely her involvement would be and be more ... Yeah, again, I'm not saying the game should be trashed for that, but if people are if the review bombs that have to do, or the downvotes, I won't say review bombing because that's kind of like a anti-consumer statement or phrase, but the people who are downvoting it on those lines, I think that they are being explicit in saying this is why I'm doing it. It's not because of the game. In fact, a lot of the ones I saw where people saying, well, the game is great, but unfortunately this chick is involved and I can't I can't recommend this in good faith. So I think that's a fair way to look at it. And I think that, like Norwegian said, any future project from Megacrit will have its potential damage because of this. Yes.
Right.
But yes, I think that that's all fair to say. So but we got to get into why. Like, why is this a big deal? What is it? What has Anita Sarkeesian done? Like, why all the hate, right? Let's take a look. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a history lesson. We're going to go down the memory lane to find out what is it, how has Anita Sarkeesian affected the games industry? All right. So in 2009, this is how far back we're going, she founded Feminist Frequency, a website and nonprofit for feminist media criticism. The website, feministfrequency.com, is still up. Let's take a look. Is it still up? I think it is still up. And it hosts all her old videos and archives. So you can look at them yourself. I'm going to go to the website here in just a moment. I just need to copy paste it. And copy that, drop it in here. Is it still up? Of course it is. So yeah, it's been a while since it's been seen any action. But yeah, so here is feministfrequency.com. They have a podcast called Feminist Frequency Radio. And of course, the games and online harassment hotline and things like this, right? Tropes versus women in video games, the classic. Now, when she started these videos, Cersei says, Honey Badger, I made a game. Can you rate it? Of course. Go into my Discord server and if you have an itch.io, you can send it to us there. All right. So in 2009, she started making these videos. Now they start off as small videos, and she worked with a man named Jonathan McIntosh, who basically wrote all of her scripts. And he was probably the brains behind the operation, to be honest. I don't know if you know who Jonathan McIntosh is.
I can't say right off the top of my head.
All right. So Jonathan McIntosh was actually the guy who he helped write the scripts, is how she phrased it. I think he wrote them because he also had his own channel called Pop Culture Detective. And it had the exact same, let's say, types of writing in it. And yeah, so he was her partner in crime making these videos. And this would have been no big deal because, everybody's got an opinion on games and they want to talk about what they think about stuff. But Anita's approach to critiquing games was very dishonest. And it seemed like she was just practicing a kind of cultural Marxist critique of everything. And she even said so. There's a famous clip of her saying, everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. That was her quoting that, which is basically saying you have to have a Marxist critical consciousness or engage in critical theory about everything that we love, because there must be something wrong with it, right? And so and the issue is you're allowed to have that opinion if you want to. But the issue was that when people said, well, this is, I disagree with that for this reason or that reason, and you had lots of people, Thunderfoot made videos, Sargon made videos. We made videos over at Honey Badger Radio. We were all, just sort of like demonstrating the flaws in her logic, right? And she was outright lying about stuff too. Like I remember in Hitman, she made a thing about how the prostitutes in Hitman could just be like killed and dragged around and like thrown in buckets and stuff like that. And she was using it as an example of like how women in video games are, just sort of like, like objectified and violently represented, and it's harmful to women. Even though, and like this is a bit of a technicality, but in Hitman, if you kill civilians, it's bad for you. Like it's a
Right.
fail state, or it's bad for your score. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to kill the target. And of course, she also doesn't comment on the fact that in the overwhelming majority of video games, you're killing men if there's any killing at all. Like
Right.
the overwhelming majority, like 99% of the people you kill in video games are male. In fact, the ones where you kill women tend to be the ones that are trying to be more feminist. Like in, for example, The Last of Us Part 2, a lot of like the people you kill along the way as Ellie are other women. Like there's just like women on the opposing, side or whatever.
Right.
Can I send the link of the game in live chat? No, I don't know about that. I'm not sure that you can do that. Why don't you just tell me where I can find it and how to look it up? How about that? Okay, so anyway.
I know the Salvage Depot update in GTA I've mentioned here on the show before. They made it so that you couldn't kill one of the female NPCs in one of the missions. Unless she just got hit by environmental damage. So you'd have to throw grenades and things like that. And if she got caught off by the environmental effects from that, then that character that NPC would die in that. But if you ever actually went and aimed a gun at her, you couldn't fire the gun or anything like that. So they've implemented things now because of all of her bullshit, specifically like that. And so that's one of the things that I was talking about for over the course of time that we've been doing this, red flags on why I'm concerned about the next Grand Theft Auto, because I saw them put that in one of the GTA Online updates, and it's like, well, this is evidently how they're designing now, because they had to go and make that a legitimate choice, because prior to that update, if it was a NPC character, it was an NPC character, and didn't have any kind of special protections for anything, unless it's like a storyline character, but that doesn't exist in the online side of things. So it's pretty obvious that women, again, protected class, can't do things like the whole thing on like why you can't show a woman taking a punch in movies is because they have a policy written up somewhere about that. And like the brutalization of women, you can't do that in movies, but you can run dudes through wood chippers all day. The levels to which these things go is quite hilarious. And so when like she's sitting here saying that women are being specifically brutalized in games, that's quite a
that's the thing. She cherry picks examples to support her claim. Right. She takes things out of context. She like outright lies about what's actually happening in them. And so this is the thing that's interesting about it, is that not that she did that, but like when people pointed out like what she was doing, you're being intellectually dishonest here, you're misrepresenting this thing, and they would make videos explaining it, she would call that harassment and death threats. And then she would like basically demand that those people be deplatformed or have something happen to their channels or be removed in some way. So this was where the controversy started on her end. Okay. Like she's not the antagonist or the let's say she's not really the spark that started Gamergate.
Right.
He was part of the conversation. It was the Zoe post, and then like the gamers don't have to be your audience, like anti-gamer like articles that were written, gamers are dead articles that were written by the by the media groups, but they were doing it in defense of women like Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian. Anita Sarkeesian, the reaction to her videos was the catalyst for them to do that. They were looking for ways to say, here are why the gaming community is hostile to women, and they found that people were critiquing her videos and not just taking them on, even though, again, they were bad arguments. And she didn't even understand the game she was criticizing because, newsflash, she didn't like video games anyways. She was doing this purely for two reasons. One was because she is a far left intersectional feminist, and so that means you have to critique everything, even if there's no reason to. The goal is to figure out a way to do it that sounds plausible, not necessarily to do it because there's something there. It's like, how good are you with rhetoric that you can like make something sound plausible? You know who Mehdi Hassan is? Anybody know who Mehdi Hassan is? Mehdi Hassan is like a journalist, I think, and like a political pundit, and he's an American. No, he's a British Muslim guy, and he does a lot of debates, right? And he's really good with rhetoric, but he's not like smart. But he wrote a book called How to Win Every Argument, and so like right there, what I'm saying when you're talking about lefties, right there is like the essence of what they do. It's not about the truth. It's about whether or not they can make you think that they have created a new reality with their words, right?
Right.
It is. It's sorcery, you might say. And so like this is what Mehdi Hassan does, and this is what Anita does, and people like this. Some of them are better at it than others, but it's all lies at the end of the day. It's all like this standpoint theory. That's why there are phrases like my lived experience, because it's all based on lies. It's like, I thought this because in my heart, I think this is true. And they think that by doing that, they can make it real. Right. And if you believe it, then it kind of becomes real if enough people believe it. So, I mean, but it doesn't really line up with the reality. So anyway, I use Mehdi Hassan as my example because of the book he wrote. And this is what I'm saying, like, this is how it happens on all these different levels. So Anita had these videos. When people criticize her, she called it sexual harassment. She called it, bullying, death threats, etc. That was in 2009. Then in 2011, she partnered with a magazine called Bitch. You guys remember this magazine? It's called Bitch Magazine. And it was a feminist mag, obviously, like for lesbians, I think. And she used them to promote her Tropes versus Women video series on them. Now, the Bitch Magazine, I don't know if it's still around. A lot of these websites are gone now because of like all of the legal stuff that like with Gawker and stuff and Hulk Hogan. That was like a while ago. Yeah. But her video series included these videos. And this is what she did for Bitch Magazine. So this is Tropes versus Women in movies and television. So like I'm saying, she didn't just do the video game thing. She did all cultural things. And she wasn't the only one either. There was a lot of this going on everywhere. So her full playlist of videos she made for Bitch Magazine these are the following titles. The Manic Pixie Dream Girl. So you probably heard this. I wouldn't say she coined it, but she used it, right? Women in Refrigerators. You remember that? The Smurfette Principle, which is the idea that there's only one woman in like this, where there's a bunch of men, I guess.
Right.
The Evil Demon Seductress, the Mystical Pregnancy, and the Straw Feminist. The Straw Feminist is basically like when they represent a feminist in a way that feminists don't like, basically. One of the example of the Straw Feminist is, if you guys remember the feminist supervillain in Powerpuff Girls that basically acted like a feminist. Like Gennady Tchaikovsky like nailed it. She cried victim. She claimed to be girl power and all that. So yeah, you can find those on the Feminist Frequency website, but Bitch Media itself shut down a few years ago. But she left the videos up on her site. So that was in 2011. In 2012, she launched her Kickstarter for Tropes versus Women in Video Games, and she was looking for $6,000 that she could use to, essentially like continue to make the videos. All right. So I'm just putting this on the screen here. She was seeking $6,000. It raised over $158,000. Part of what helped her boost that to that level was her saying that she's been getting, trying to make this little video where she's just trying to like talk about like, video games, and it's so harmless. And look at me, I'm being victimized by all these people. And she made a shit ton of money, $158,000, and triggered major online reactions. And some people say that she was getting death threats and rape threats, although there's been no arrests, no indictments, no allegations, no prosecutions, nothing.
No
It's just her
evidence.
saying it and everyone nodding along. There was even a video game, not really, that was somebody made called the Beat Up Anita Sarkeesian game. You guys remember that? She used that, of course, as evidence of this kind of like harassment and death threat culture. Even though it was just a video game where you could just like hit the screen. I think she gets more bruised up or something as it goes. I mean, look, I don't think that was good for people because it gave her fuel. I don't think that that's good to do, but that did happen. So I got to be real about that. Okay. So that happened. She made her money. Ultimately, in the Kickstarter, she promised 5 videos. Each were 10 to 20 minutes long, covering tropes like damsel in distress, fighting fuck toy, sexy sidekick, sexy villainess, and women as background decoration. All her videos would be free on YouTube. Thanks to stretch goals, she expanded that to 12 videos plus a classroom curriculum for educators. So we're going to stop there for a second. So a classroom curriculum for educators. Why would she do that? Well, part of it is the other reason that she did this.
Planting those seeds, man.
Yes, planting the seeds. And also it's guaranteed money.
Mm-hmm.
So like she made a lot of money by crying victim. And if you make a curriculum for educators, you're basically like securing an income, because all you have to do is get the schools to give you money for it. And what the schools would do is they're going to use taxpayer dollars to do that anyway, because like, you know, public schools don't pay for shit. Like they get the government to do it.
Yep.
So just think, and remember, this is 2012. So at that time, obviously, like, you know, Trump wasn't even being talked about. This is way before any of this was like even in discussion. Obama was in the White House and all that. So, anybody want to comment on that so far? Because I got more of her history to go through, which is interesting. So these are the plans, right? Abobang says, "Oh brother, why did this show up on my recommended? I don't know, but welcome to the stream nonetheless." Let's see. I'll have to send the link to the chat. So Cersei, why don't you go into either after this show is over, you can post a comment with a link, or go to my last video that I posted and share it there, and I'll check it out. Okay. Don't put it in the live chat, because I gotta tell you, I don't know where it's gonna go. So I don't want to get like a virus or give one to somebody else. So, and I'm not gonna click on it during the show anyway. So just put it in a comment either after the stream is over or on one of my other videos. Okay.
Yeah. Or join the Discord. Post it there.
Well, they said they don't have a Discord. So
Gotcha.
okay. We should have known she was playing us with those wild takes. We built her up, and we would have been better off just ignoring her. Medi is an evil person. Hogan taking down Gawker was wild. Yeah. R.I.P. to the Hulkster. Mystical pregnancy sounds like something Hannah would come up with regarding women sleeping around. Oh yeah, like I don't know who's the father of this baby.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, everything I've said so far, John, do you want to comment on any of that?
I mean, you're pretty on point with all the points you've been making thus far. Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, I can't really refute it, like because
Oh,
right now
no,
too,
it's fine.
especially since you're kind of doing a history catch up. I mean, all I can really do is kind of give a little bit of.
Did you know all this stuff already or no?
Not all of it. So yeah, so part of this is I'm just kind of like taking a little bit of new details as well. I kind of knew some of the broad strokes and whatnot, but yeah, like I'm finding this to be pretty informative as well.
Yeah, well, it's gonna get better. So because it gets better / worse the more we go on. So in the end, she did end up releasing 18 videos between 2013 and 2017. There was a big gap in there, and people were saying she wasn't going to finish the thing she promised, which, you know, on Kickstarter, if you don't deliver your Kickstarter, that usually, like, it's not bad. It's bad. Like, people don't like that. But she did eventually get it done. I mean, it wasn't like for lack of funding. The final one, which she calls The Lady's Sidekick, came out in April of 2017. She also eventually released her classroom curriculum in 2018. So she did deliver. The only criticism was a long delay. The project was supposed to wrap up much sooner, but according to her, the harassment and scope creep and expanded production slowed everything down considerably. Most backers ultimately got what was promised and more, just not in the original timeline. There's something else to point out too. It wasn't like the production value of it was like massive. She wasn't doing anything really. She was just sitting there, just like in the thumbnail that I'm sharing here. She's just kind of sitting next to
simple green
the
screen work.
image, and it was just overlaid with some gameplay. And the gameplay footage she used was from other gamers that had posted it online. So she wasn't doing her own gameplay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And she wasn't crediting those people either. So like if some, normally if you look at like, I don't know, like a Mojo Plays or one of those like very like, I don't know what you even call it. They're like kind of factory, gaming websites that do listicles, and they say, oh, top 10 hardest bosses. And they'll show you clips. They'll often credit who the clip is from if it's from somebody else that's not within the company. She didn't do that. So she was using footage without asking permission. She wasn't what was the money for? It wasn't spent on effects. It wasn't spent on location shots. It wasn't even spent on games. She was just, I guess she was
on editing,
money.
which right. And it's like an editor, you quite literally get an editor.
No, but Jonathan McIntosh was doing all that stuff. And I don't think he was like, she was paying him a lot of money. In fact, I'm pretty sure he was a pretty well-to-do guy. I think he's like a Nepo baby himself, but don't quote me on that. I'm not certain. I didn't look into Jonathan McIntosh that much. I just know that he basically did a lot of the heavy lifting for Anita when she was putting out her videos. Weird that a man would be involved with such a strong, independent woman. Anyway, so she did deliver all that stuff. And the backers were happy because, again, it was what they wanted. So in March of 2013, she released her first video, Damsel in Distress, which is what I talked about. And she got an award in 2014 from the Game Developers Choice, the Game Developers Choice Ambassador Award is what she got from. It's basically like a GDC award. They give it out. Okay. It was, she got it for her Women as Background Decoration video. The fact that Gamergate was like really picking up steam at this point was one of the reasons why I think she was able to benefit, because again, at that point, Gamergate had nothing but negative press about it. And it was just seen as like angry, chuds. Like I think that's actually where the chud comes from, is Gamergate 1. Like that's when we started to hear it. But mostly like misogynistic and like sexist and racist and white nationalist and Klansmen and all of the things, right? Nazi wasn't a thing yet because, again, Trump hasn't been elected at this point. But it was definitely like hating women and don't want them involved in games.
Right. And I know at this point that's when women in games was galvanizing, because it was what 2000 and
2014.
No, I'm just saying 2009 is when women in games was formalized with Brenda as the first president, and that was from IGA, which puts on the GDC, and so a lot of this stuff really starts to galvanize right in this period, because they are actually able to get help with the funding from women in games, and and that's a thing that's tied to WEF and fucking Rockefellers and all the crazy shit, all the stuff that we sit here and have to deal with now. This is when it was all tying in. So that's kind of like, she's one of the godfathers of DEI in many ways.
She definitely one of the big ones. Yes. Yeah. So in 2014, she won an award. So this is where she does her like media tour. This is right after her thing comes out, and it's weird because the timing is so convenient. Lots of people are making videos and content and writing articles about games and gaming culture. And at this point, by the way, the video game industry is exploding in a way that it's making like more money than music, more money than movies, more money than television. So it was like the new media, and it still is. It's still bigger than all those things put together. Definitely bigger than literature. And so like, because it's a new thing, you have to get like let's say the cultural movers and shakers to get involved, right? They want to be a part of that because they see that growing. Before that time, video games was something that was for nerds and, you know, weirdos. It was like a fringe thing. But now that it's going really mainstream, you get these movers and shakers involved. So you have, you know, the GDC is really big, and they're giving awards out. Now you're starting to see that thing that I talked about, how, you know, you know how the game awards today are like basically the Oscars of yesterday, where they're giving awards to games not because of how fun they are, not because of you know, like how daring they were, but it's about like whether or not they have like the right kind of message, right? I mean, like, it's about the right kind of message, not necessarily having any message. So, and that's sort of like in the same way that when you go to the Oscars, you know, the ones that win Oscars are often movies about, you know, oh, he's a really fat, disabled gay man that has AIDS and nobody knew. And, you know, he's got to forgive his daughter for something, or he has to beg her for forgiveness, you know, something like that. Those are the things that, you know, oh, it's about Native Americans getting like raped and pillaged by the white man, you know, whatever it is, right? Those are the ones that win awards, not because they're good movies, not because anybody even watched it, but because they're saying the right things. And it's about cultural capital, which is why I often speak out against the idea that greed is a motivating factor, because I don't think it is. Like, especially when you already have all the money, what you want is power. What you want is influence. What you want is to change people. You want to control human beings and control their behavior because you already have money. Like, so that's not really an issue.
Right.
So,
well, even things that are marketed under the idea of the umbrella of empathy are still things that are being made for money. So it kind of, you know, like it's a little bit mixed in its messaging right there. Like, it's supposed to be all about, you know, then why aren't you giving it freely? You know?
Yeah. So they give her an award for being like a daring, you know, hero in the face of all of this death threats and harassment and stuff. And she gets to go on a bit of a media tour. She appears on the Colbert Report in 2014 to discuss Gamergate and online harassment. You remember that? Did you know about that, John? That Anita was on
vaguely,
the Colbert
vaguely
Report?
remember it. Yeah, I think I was getting to the phase where I was probably stopped watching him around that time. But yeah, no, I believe I've seen at least clips of it.
Yeah. I'm going to grab the clip here real quick so you guys can see a little bit of it, so you know that I'm not bullshitting that this happened. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Here we go. So here is Anita Sarkeesian on the Colbert Report.
So I speak for all gamers when I say the media should stop talking to critics like Anita Sarkeesian. Here now to be talked to is media critic and creator of the web series Feminist Frequency, Anita Sarkeesian. Ms. Sarkeesian, thanks so much for being on here. All right.
Now, remember, at this point, Stephen Colbert was pretending he was doing a character that was a caricature of the right wing or a Republican. So that's why he plays this caricature on purpose. So at this point, he hadn't like demanded everybody get vaccinated. This is before that.
Right.
Look. Let's put this on the line. Okay. Let's call this what it is. You and the other feminazis in the gamer world are coming for our balls to snip them off, put them into a little felt purse, and take them away so we have to play your nonviolent games, right?
No, that's not true.
It's a culture war. It's a subculture war.
There is something going on, and what it is women being harassed and threatened and terrorized.
After you first attacked male gamers for enjoying looking at big-breasted women with tiny armor that barely covers their nipples.
Okay, I'll stop it there. You get a taste of it, all right? So, what was that?
Oh, I was just yeah, right, because like, I mean, like this whole thing is. Yeah, this is a setup. Yeah.
Oh, obviously, yeah. No, it was completely like handing the narrative to her so that she can like set the stage, right? And it goes on. I'm not going to play the whole clip because it's like 5 minutes, and I'm sure that Comedy Central is going to take this fucking channel down if they find out that I even played that much. Even though this clip is like years and years old
and widely available.
Yeah, and widely available on YouTube. But you know, this was on purpose to basically do the framing. You have a bunch of people, they watch the Colbert Report, they watch the Daily Show, or you know, and they don't know what Gamergate is. And so it just so happens that Anita Sarkeesian and, you know, Stephen Colbert can tell you what it is. So this is adding to the framing, okay? And of course, not a lot of what he said isn't wrong, but they're playing it like it should be, you know, you should feel like it's wrong, right? That
He
they
is
want to
playing
castrate men.
specifically.
And he was like, it's a culture war. And I'm like, yes, it is.
Mhm.
Like, you know, you and look at where we are now. That clip has not aged well, not in
Right.
the way that they think, anyways. Right.
Right. Yeah, no, this is like some revelation of the method type stuff here, in terms of him playing the role of, you know, this bombastic guy who's, oh, well, of course, she's one who's giving level-headed, reasonable arguments because the whole thing was set up specifically so that they could have the framing of this is how these conversations will be going forward from here, which we can now say easily after fact, knowing more about Colbert and his part in all this and how a lot of what he was doing during all that time was just kind of muddying the waters and kind of, you know, doing this whole thing to just kind of motivate the ways to go about how to win an argument, you know, with rhetoric and all that kind of, you know, blustering bullshit. So
Yeah. So she got to go on the Colbert Report again, 2014, discuss Gamergate, and this was also when she got the award from the GDC, and it was basically the reason for the award was to show that she helped advance video games to a better place, which can mean building a healthier game community or acting as an advocate for games to the wider world. So Anita Sarkeesian did have an impact on the games industry. And you can probably find games that came out in 2014 or earlier that reflect this. Okay. Definitely since, though. So in 2014, also, she was the first woman to receive that award. So they actually made her the first woman to receive this award from GDC. So you see, they get to kill two birds with one stone. First woman to get it, and it's for this reason.
Right. So historic. So necessary.
Yes. Wyvern Zoo says, why are you talking about Anita anyway? Nobody likes her. Well, because it's relevant right now. I don't know if you know, but it was discovered that she was involved with Slay the Spire 2, a game that I don't have, but it's made everyone say, who is this person? And this stream is to inform people on who that person is.
Right.
But if you don't like her, then, you know, join the club. But a lot of people don't know who that is.
Right.
So,
and if you only focus on stuff that's happening in the superficial detail of the moment, then you're always going to be chasing behind. You have to get ahead of these things. And that's kind of what we're talking about now, is getting people to catch up, because when you don't stay on top of like who these people are, what they're doing, how they're involved, then you end up in an instance like this where something comes out where it's like, well, why are you even talking about her? Because she's still there. She's hidden.
She's not irrelevant. She's in the industry now.
Yeah,
this is what I'm driving at.
She's further insulated now, so that's why you don't know about her, how she's still relevant, actually.
Yep. All right. So Neil Druckmann from Naughty Dog presented her the award. He gave her the award, the GDC award. He also did a talk. I think this was like later, because when The Last of Us Part 2 was coming out. And he talked about how Anita Sarkeesian influenced him when it comes to game development. So The Last of Us Part 2, you can thank Anita Sarkeesian for that. This is what I mean. All right. So what else? So when she appeared on, let me see, she would, to explain to a mainstream audience what was happening with Gamergate, she talked about the rape and death threats that she was getting and how the movement had gone far beyond ethics in games journalism, and to talk about the broader issue of sexism and harmful tropes in video games, tying it back to her Tropes versus Women series. It was a good way for her to promote her YouTube channel. Like, could you imagine, you know, like if I get to go on like a bigger channel and talk about like what I do on my little channel, would be super grateful. You know, like I was on Andy Pants Gaming. He's got like 200,000 subs. I think that's huge. I don't know if I got a lot of subs off of it, but it was still a really like a big deal to me to get on that. But imagine if I got to go on The Daily Show or something, you know, to talk about my YouTube channel. Like, this is really good for her brand. She's really good at building her brand. By the way, there was a leaked clip from a while ago that revealed, before she even started making these videos, that she was like she went to some kind of marketing seminar on making money online. So I think that like ultimately she landed on this because she knew where her bread was buttered. She could do all of the things. She could play the victim. She could, issue critiques that don't have to be based in reality. She had people working for her. She managed to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now she does consulting for the games industry itself.
For the games that she doesn't even play or even have much of an interest in, other than just critiquing them all the way along because of her just a social outlook. And so and that is all the more reason why it's pretty relevant when you have somebody who doesn't even like the thing in the creative process. That's usually a red flag right there.
Okay, so that's 2014. Boosts her profile massively. She gets to go on Stephen Colbert. 2015. This is still really a long time ago. This is 11 years ago. She gets to speak at a United Nations event on online harassment alongside Zoe Quinn, who is the actual instigator of Gamergate in a way. Partnered with Intel on a diversity initiative in gaming and tech, and then continued. Obviously, she was still releasing her Tropes versus Women videos. In January of 2015, so you had Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. They're at the United Nations. They're basically calling for somebody to do something about like freedom of speech on the internet because women are being harassed and they feel endangered. Okay?
These are useful idiots at this point in time. Actors for the agency that sent them, which is ultimately the place
Intel. Yes, Intel at the same time. They announced a $300 million diversity initiative for tech and gaming. And after they got backlash from the Gamergate controversy, I guess Intel had to briefly pull their ads from Gama Sutra. They partnered with Feminist Frequency to promote more women and minorities in game development and to support positive representation in games. There's basically Intel trying to improve their image while funding programs to increase diversity in the industry.
Right.
So this isn't just Anita. Now we're talking about Intel.
Right. Well, this is when the platforming begins for creating the whole, I guess industry of like, the whisper networks and the this and that, and like this.
Oh, we're getting to that part.
Yeah. So this is them setting everybody. This is them setting up the table for the game that's about to be played. So yeah, these are very much bot actors, and so this initiative was coming from the central, the CFRs of the world, the WF specifically. And so this is them going and platforming people specifically so that they can say, oh, well, there are people that are talking about this. So they are creating, the entire thrust for what we're now going to be living through. At this point in time.
So what was the goal of Anita and Zoe Quinn's appearance at the UN? The event was... Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think pretty much what I just said is like it's the setting of the table, but I'll let you continue.
So the event was tied to the launch of a UN Broadband Commission report on cyber violence against women and girls. Both women spoke about their personal experiences with severe online harassment during Gamergate. The objective was to highlight how bad online abuse against women can get and to push for stronger action from governments, tech companies, and the industry. So it didn't go anywhere. I want to clarify this. It was like a really poorly researched report that the UN ultimately made, which didn't lead anywhere. But what's important is the attempt. And there's always been an attempt to control the information on the internet.
Right.
And if you can make women look like, if you can craft a narrative where that says that women are the victims of that, then there is like you have a stronger case to doing it, or at least people think that you do, because we got to protect the women's right. So this was like the purpose of the report, or the purpose of this thing, and then Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, for what I don't know how they managed to pull this off, like get the UN to let them on, because they could have got any number of other women to do it, but they went with them. And I think it's because Anita Sarkeesian was on the Colbert Report talking about harassment. And they the UN probably asked her to come, and she probably reached out to Zoe Quinn because they were talking to each other at the time, because they were all part of the same network, at least like because of Gamergate. Like, I don't think Zoe Quinn knew Anita before that, but because of that, they started to, like, you know, connect because they felt like they had to against the Chuds.
Right.
So, and then they get to go to the United Nations to, like, make their case. It didn't go anywhere because the United Nations just happened to be incompetent and they weren't able to put together a really good. Thank God for that, because those people are evil. But that did happen, and that was why. And of course, with the backing of Intel, so you had like a lot of moving parts here that I think is worth pointing out. Let me read some of your comments, and I'll move on to the next time, like the next point on the timeline, as it were. Robert Johnson says, speaking of people wanting to make decisions with limited information, not looking out for your interests, I remember Colbert dancing with syringe cosplayers. Yes, I remember that too. The Great Indoors that says Colbert 2014, it's a culture war. Audience laughs and claps. Colbert 2021, vaccine. Audience cheers and is in face diapers and ready to give the smackdown towards anyone who doesn't comply. Yes. For sure. Let me see. Wyvern Zoo says, I think there's nuance to this. She was obviously rage baiting, but I also think many gamers are dumb. Well, the claim that many gamers are dumb is also not, that doesn't have a lot of nuance to it. So she shouldn't be included in game development. Yeah, but she is. That's my point. Like, you can say this shouldn't be, but it is, and you have to ask why. And I'm laying that out. I'm laying out how she was able to build her platform, her clout, and everything else. And yes, it depends on, you simply like throw enough rage bait out and you're going to get at least one person that's going to respond in a way that you can use to essentially validate your victim status. It doesn't make what that person is doing right, though, right? Like what the person who's claiming victim status, they're using it, and we should be skeptical. We should be informed. So that's why I'm doing that. Paradoxical Rebellion Against Rebellious Paradox, he says, if there's no court filings for death threats by now, then it was a lie all along. Yes, I looked into it. There have been no arrests. There have been no indictments. There have been nothing. It's just claims in the ether, right?
Right.
Robert Johnson says, in before it's revealed that the Epstein files are just to distract us from the Twitter files. All right. So, well, there's definitely like that was already put out there, I think. But anyway. All right, so who's Zoe Quinn? Just as a side note, Zoe Quinn was one of the very first and most prominent targets of Gamergate. She spoke from the perspective of an independent game developer who had her life upended by the coordinated online abuse, according to her. She basically made a game called Depression Quest, which was a non-game that, you know, it was her way of essentially vomiting her own problems onto everybody else by making it into an interactive game. And she basically like had relations with several reviewers that were giving it good scores because she had relations with them. And it was the conflict of interest that caused Gamergate, not Zoe Quinn's personal problems. And of course, she made it everybody else's problem. And everyone who had to work with her knew that she was like, you know, a fucking disaster piece. So, but no one wants to say anything because they want to be allied with her because they want to beat us. So, you know, they basically just put up with it. But when she became abusive to them, she drove people away. She actually drove a boyfriend to suicide. Alec Haloka, who she accused of doing something to her that, you know, there was no evidence for. There were no arrests. There were no calls to police or anything like that. And Alec Haloka's sister even sided against him and sided with Zoe because she adopted that feminist like trope of believe all victims. Believe all women, really. And so he was driven to suicide because he had no way of like, you know, he had no way of clearing his name, and his own family was against him. And so he just took his own life. And he was a developer of a video game too. I can't remember the name of it now, but I think it involves a cat. But anyway, so yeah, Zoe Quinn.
And then that relationship would, from all that stuff, that would be the things that would go into the creation of Weird Ghost, Baby Ghost, Sweet Baby Inc. All the
true. It did go to Sweet Baby Inc. Also, Zoe Quinn did also start a support network, let's say, to help victims of online harassment called Crash Override Network, or CON, as we called it. So Crash Override Network was actually a whisper network that would try to get people fired. I actually have like a blurb on it here that I wrote. Let me just go find it really quick. I'm sorry, I have a lot here. So
No worries.
yes, Crash Override Network was founded by Zoe Quinn and Alex Lifshitz in early 2015 as a support hotline for victims of online harassment. Randy Harper was closely involved with the group and its associated chats, though she wasn't a formal co-founder. In August of 2016, a large set of Skype chat logs from the group were leaked. The logs were later confirmed as authentic by multiple participants, including Ian Miles Chong. Yes, that Ian Miles Chong. You guys might know him from X. Peter Coffin, who, he was also like a friend of Anita's, and Randy Harper herself. They would discuss ways to get people fired from their jobs. They would coordinate blacklists. They would dox people, or they'd be planning to dox people. They would engage in derogatory talk about people they labeled as enemies. One of the people they went after was American McGee. You know, the guy who developed the game American McGee's Alice.
Mhm.
And I think they something happened with his sister where she got doxxed or something. And it was like a big deal. Okay. So we're not looking at little things here. And of course, none of the stuff that Crash Override did, Randy Harper did, Zoe Quinn did, and by extension, Anita Sarkeesian did, is common knowledge, especially like considering now that we're in the midst of like, I guess, Gamergate 2, as many people call it. Because the reason why, because a lot of people don't know that this has been an ongoing thing that hasn't really changed. And this timeline is actually demonstrating that. And this is only talking about one person, really, which is Anita Sarkeesian, not really the most consequential. Okay, but let's keep going here. So as far as, again, the harassment, I checked and there are no arrests, no indictments, and no prosecutions. The FBI did investigate some of these threats and other women targeted during the period. When they released the files in 2017, they showed the agency had identified some suspects and even had confessions in a couple of cases. However, federal prosecutors declined to bring any charges. At least in one instance, the U.S. Attorney's Office declined prosecution without giving an explanation, even though the person had confessed. Other cases were closed due to jurisdictional issues, lack of leads, or because the threats were deemed non-credible or jokes. In short, investigations happened. Some people were found, but nobody faced any real legal consequences. This was a common outcome for online threats at the time. They're very difficult to prosecute and often treated as low priority because they are in a way. And again, no one really got. Most of the harassment was actually in the other direction. There was actually like evidence of that. Like I said, American McGee, look into that if you're curious. Okay. So in 2016, 2017, she released more videos. Lady Sidekick, or Ordinary Women animated series on overlooked historical women, collaborated with the Gina Davis Institute on events and her history project. So she worked with the Gina Davis Institute, which we talked about on a previous show. All right. So again, what was the Gina Davis Institute? If you guys don't remember, it was, well, obviously founded by Gina Davis, the actress, but it was basically a research like hub where you'd have people going through all of the movies in Hollywood to determine like female representation, whether or not it fits or whatever. A lot of it probably has to do with the fact that Gina Davis doesn't get work anymore and she's blaming like sexism or something. But ultimately, that's what it was supposed to do. It's like, oh, how much screen time do women get in movies? How many lines of dialogue do they get? How many movies have like all female cast, et cetera, et cetera. So it wasn't so much like an activist hub, but it was basically like an ammunition for activists, and Anita worked with them as well. So again, this stuff is not disconnected, okay?
Right.
Then
And
in 2017, oh yeah, go ahead, John.
Well, Gina Davis Institute was also platformed by WF and things like that. Had like one of its big announcements of like when it was being debuted was at the WF headquarters in New York, if I remember correctly, back in 2014 or so, somewhere around there. But yeah, the Gina Davis Institute is basically SBI for the movies industry.
Yeah. Also, there was the and I forgot to mention this or like look this one up, but there was also the what was it, the Law and Order SVU episode about Gamergate. Do you remember that? Did you see that,
Vaguely,
John?
right? Yeah.
Oh my god. And they literally had a character in there that was like supposed to be Anita Sarkeesian, except that she actually made games in the SVU. So sort of like a
Right.
mix between Anita Sarkeesian
And Zoe.
and not Zoe Quinn, Brianna Wu.
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah.
maybe Zoe
Well,
Quinn too.
well, although Brianna Wu, let's Brianna.
She made a game. It was an awful game, but
Yeah,
she did
well,
make a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my friend from college who does indie game design, he knew Brianna back when Brianna was Brian, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
No, his name was John. His name is John Flint, I think. His name was John Flint. Pretty sure. He leveled up, yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So like again, this is how big this is. It was, and I mean, like, definitely on their side, like they're on TV, they're doing Comedy Central, they have an episode of a show for like, old housewives that watch it late at night or something. The purpose of this is obviously to craft a narrative in the consciousness of people who don't pay attention to this stuff very closely, right? To turn the masses against basically the people who just wanted to be left alone to play their video games, men, right? So anyway, so in 2017 we had the SVU episode. That might have been earlier than that, maybe 2016. Then we had VidCon, and I'm bringing up VidCon because it's more of a personal thing for me. So like in 2017, the summer of 2017, I was going to a men's conference in Australia. It was the International Conference on Men's Issues in Australia. Part of it was to promote a documentary made by Cassie J about the men's movement and men's issues. But we also decided to make a stop. Like part of the trip was to go to LA, I believe it was LA, for the VidCon. Because there'd be a bunch of other YouTubers and people in our circle that we would meet up with. So I got to go hang out with Sargon of Akkad or Carl Benjamin, Dave Cullen, who, I really admire. Like, I feel like I'm his friend, but we don't see each other that much because he lives in Ireland. But Dave Cullen, Vernaculus was there. A lot of other guys, like, Andy Worski, I got to hang out with him, yeah, I couldn't go through it, name the others, but Anita was there. And we decided to all go to see her. She did like a presentation of some kind. It was basically to talk more about how she's a victim of stuff. And Carl had the idea to sit in the front row. And you guys might remember this is because there's like, clips everywhere. I was there for that. I was sitting like, I don't know, next to Dave Cullen. I know that. And Anita saw him in the crowd and she freaked out and called him a garbage human. And that's where the garbage human thing comes from. And she called us all garbage humans. And that, that was interesting too, because at the same convention, we got to look at what kind of person she was. So at a different talk she was at, which we also went to, she was talking about, I think it was just online harassment in general. And there were a bunch of people on the panel, and one of them was her, but the other one was Boogie 2298. Is that his name?
Yeah.
And Boogie was being very like careful about his words. He was being very kind and cautious and moderate. And I'm not saying that Boogie's one of us or anything like that, because I don't think he is, but he was trying very much to be diplomatic about this stuff. And also to point out that, because Anita was making it all about women being victims, and Boogie was trying to say, well, anybody can be. He was trying to make these criticisms of online harassment on the grounds of universality, like, hey, this could happen to anybody. And obviously he is an example himself, being like a really fat guy. And he was like, this could happen to anybody. I don't think that it's gendered. I don't think that it's political. I think that it's behavioral. And Anita hated that. And backstage, we learned about this later because she didn't do it there, but you could see it on her face. She was angry. She basically like tore him a new one. She was yelling at him. She was being very abusive. And he came out later, made a video about it. This was like, I'm saying this because I want you guys to know if what Boogie is saying is true, and I have no reason to doubt that because she didn't come out and deny it or anything. It just gives you an idea of what kind of person this is. Okay. Right. Let's see. I got some comments I got to respond to really quick before we keep going. So,
no worries.
And I feel like because I have a ways to go, I don't want to go over, but I might make a video about this too. BS Doomslayer says Gamergate were terrorists and Logan Paul was in the episode. Oh, you mean in the show? Yes. In the show they were. It was really over the top. There was a gun and like they had like the first person perspective of it on the roof. Yes, Logan Paul was in it, and Ice-T like kills him and like oh my god, it was bad. It was bad. I think they may have even said game over in it. Like it was just so corny, dude. It was so corny. So VidCon happened in 2018. Anita Sarkeesian announced that she had a room named after her. So in Facebook, so there's another thing connects to big tech. Okay, in 2018, she had a conference room at a Facebook office named after her. She and there she made her post saying, "I might never have a building named after me, but at least I have a conference room at Facebook." Also, lol, what? Who did this? So. Yeah, so there that happened, and this was again 2018, August 9th, that she made this post. Okay, and she also went to a talk at Gen Con. Let me find this really quick, and I may have to go back to show some other stuff. So she went. I'm not going to play the whole thing; it's just like an hour long. But she went to Gen Con. Now, Gen Con, if you guys don't know, it's a tabletop. Mostly a tabletop gaming convention, D&D and stuff. But it's since then it's expanded to a lot more. It's like Warhammer and it's like card games, Magic the Gathering, etc. A big thing in the Midwest, right? I believe it started off in Wisconsin. I used to go every year because when I lived in Chicago, and then I moved it to Indianapolis, and I think it's still in Indianapolis now. And it's been going woke. Like I remember I stopped going because I'm like the last time I went, it was like they had special like rules for the way you should behave, and it was all like, no, I'm not doing this. Like this is like I'm not going to go to any more of these. And she went to Gen Con to do a talk. It was light and informal. It was an hour-long conversation between Anita Sarkeesian and the moderator Luke Crane about applying feminist ideas to tabletop gaming and RPGs. How has that aged, guys? He talked about how women are often portrayed in tabletop games, the lack of diverse representation in both characters and game design, and why she thought the medium could do better at avoiding harmful tropes, similar to what she criticized in video games. It was more casual discussion than a formal lecture, touching on the broader views that media representation while focusing on the tabletop space.
Yep.
So
now we have wheelchair ramps in D&D games.
Yes, now we have gay beholders. And and everything's a coffee house experience. Again, if you're not a D&D gamer, then maybe this doesn't matter to you. But if you played Baldur's Gate 3, you can see a little bit of that. If you've watched Critical Role, you've probably seen a little bit of that. Like I think that there's an influence there going, yeah, you have Mexican orcs, thank you. Or orcs that are immigrants, right? Undocumented orcs. You have like moral relativism creeping into everything, because that's kind of like what it comes down to. So right. There we have that, okay? Let me see, what else? In 2019, she launched her Queer Tropes in Video Games miniseries, which was released by her team, which I want to show you guys here. This was the team called Feminist Frequency Radio. They had like an audio podcast, and these are very flattering images.
Yeah, I was going to say, none of them looked like this at this point in time. They're all about 50 pounds heavier.
What are you talking about? Like, if you look, the Queer Tropes is right here. This person who is obviously trans, they made the series. So that's like what they launched. This dude launched here under the Feminist Frequency label. Okay, so that was in 2019. It covers tropes like the bury your gays trope, queer coding of villains, and other common patterns in how LGBTQ plus characters have been portrayed in games. So, and there was also a hotline. I already mentioned that, right? There was a hotline called the Games and Online Harassment Hotline. It was a free text-based message, emotional support hotline for people in the gaming community that were dealing with online harassment, bullying, workplace issues, or general abuse in gaming spaces. You text support to 23368, and trained counselors who actually understood gaming culture, according to them, would respond. It launched in August of 2020 and ran for a little over 3 years. It's gone. So it shut down in 2023, right around the same time that Feminist Frequency shut down. The website is still up as an archive with resources and guides, but the actual support service has ended. So, well, does this mean, because she did end up shutting down Feminist Frequency as a YouTube channel and a website, but does that mean that Anita Sarkeesian is gone?
No.
No.
Far from.
And as a matter of fact, all of that stuff was a means to an end, because now she works in consulting.
Right.
And I believe we did a show on this. It was AnitaSarkeesian.com or something like that. Let me just find it really quick. Anita Sarkeesian website, where she basically just, yeah, here it is, AnitaSarkeesian.com. I was right. Where she basically just offers services. So she started this in 2020. And so she has worked as a consultant and or received credits on multiple games, including, and I want you guys to know that this is the stuff that she's worked on, and this is kind of like one of my objectives. Because what happened with Slay the Spire, nobody knew until the game was out, and then everybody had bought a copy, and some of them had regrets. Okay. Flames Rule says, I see this is where the people who know a bit too much about the age of consent laws in each state hang out. No, I'm sorry. This is not a left-wing channel, so I have to check with those people. Yeah. I'm not Destiny or Vosh. Anyway, so she worked as a consultant or received credits on multiple games, including Hyper Light Drifter, Psychonauts 2, Sludge Life, I don't know what that is, The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And she's gotten credits, or was publicly credited by Neil Druckmann of Naughty Dog and Harvey Smith, who worked on Arcane and Dishonored 2, for her work with influencing their approach to female characters. So she shut down Feminist Frequency that same year. She claims that it was because she was burnt out, but I think it's because she got new work.
She got new cheddar. Yeah, she got what she was always after.
Yes, she got what she wanted, right. So what, let me show you guys, I think it was, yes, her interview with Harvey Smith, which she did at E3 2017. Harvey Smith, again, the developer behind Arcane and Dishonored 2, okay?
This big push, and it was very clear that there was at least some conversation that happened internally around that. I'm assuming that that was an intentional choice.
Yeah, I mean, I want to answer the question, but I always feel like, even though it's very basic for you, for other people that may be listening, I always want to answer the question like, because some game developers are like, I hate critics. Come try to make a game and then criticize the game.
Wait, they don't like critics?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. Yeah.
And so I always say, I love critics. Because in part, besides video games, I also come from like a literary background, and I've always just felt like reading the book and then reading the criticism, then reading the book again is the ultimate way to experience something. Same with film, and it should be true for video games too. You know, everybody loves Lester Bangs, you know, of a certain generation. It's like, here's a person that will tell you how to appreciate more a thing you already love, and also cite the problems with it. So I love critics. I love that kind of stuff. We internally sat down. Well, your comment, which I will always remember, I'll take it to my grave, is something like, I'm going to get it wrong too now, watch. And everybody online will be like, aha, idiot. But it was something like, while Dishonored is a game that does many things very well, the roles that it has for women are very narrow. And, you know, at first you take some criticism and you're like, wait a minute. And then you go look and it's like, wow, every woman in Dishonored 1 is either a servant, a prostitute, a witch, a queen, or a little girl. I think
or
maybe
dead.
Or
killed.
Or killed,
yeah. Right.
Or a mistress. We have a mistress also.
Sure.
But
so yeah, so he said, I thought it was funny, his argument. What did he say? Listed some negative things like a prostitute, But then he says a queen or a little
Right.
girl, and I'm like, so basically all different kinds of women, like
Right. A diverse,
what?
a diverse, you know,
Yeah, like a diverse, but not enough for Anita.
Yeah.
Remember, what did she link onto? Or dead? Yeah, like how many men die in that though? Like how many men die in any video game?
And as this is about Dishonored, you know, I distinctly remember when Dishonored first came out, a lot of people loved that game. Then Dishonored 2 came out. Dishonored 3 never came out after that.
Those games,
right? And Dishonored 2. Well, if you're looking for it, it'll be free later this week on the 13th on some website for until they run out of copies. I saw an article about it just by happenstance right before we started the stream today. But yeah, Dishonored is a series that seemed like it had a lot of promise, and then Dishonored 2 came out, and it immediately killed the franchise.
Yeah,
there, you know, that's Anita's involvement right there.
Yeah. And so, well, it is dead, isn't it? There isn't going to be like another one, but I never played those games. But like knowing that he was involved, it just sort of cements it. You know, again,
they're literally giving it away for free next week. You know, this next week. Like that's what it is. It is a gaming footnote of, oh well, this is something we can give away because it's not like anybody's going to buy it. You know, boost our numbers somewhere. You know.
Yeah, and then we have Tim Schafer. Tim Schafer of, is it Double Fine? Is that the name of his company?
Yeah.
And he had a quote. He said, "We worked with Anita on Psychonauts 2, and she helped us make a better game. Anita pointed out multiple issues that were in blind spots we didn't even know we had. She provided a new perspective and helped us avoid saying things with our game that we didn't intend to say and wouldn't want to say if we knew we were saying them. Basically, she helped us avoid stepping in multiple bear traps. Anita helped us make a product that was just as entertaining as before, but one that now did less harm and could be enjoyed by more people." And here's what he had to say about Gamergate when he was at the GDC Awards. This was in 2015.
Yep. Stage, you can rub all the trophies on your ass before you hand them out. So just think about that tonight, winners. In order to keep things classy, they said they were going to leave a little note here of things not to talk about. Here is it. Okay. Don't make fun of Canada. Whoops. Okay. Do not mention your genitals. That's a weird piece of advice. Okay. Especially do not mention them by name. Okay, bad news for you, little legend. And number 3, do not talk about Gamergate. All right. Actually, I had thought about that last one a lot, and I think you'll agree with me. I've decided tonight I will not be making any jokes about Gamergate. All of tonight's Gamergate jokes will be made by this sock puppet. Now, I cannot be held responsible for anything this sock puppet says. It's not associated with me at all. Hello! See, this is going to be great. No way this could go wrong at all. So, how about it? Got any good Gamergate stuff for me tonight? Hell yeah! How do you know the Gamergate is dead? I don't know. How do you know the Gamergate is dead? The reproductively inactive workers are able to become reproductive again. What? Hey, why did the Gamergate cut off her sister's thoracic Jimmy? What? They aggressively broadcast competitiveness and reproductive viability.
Okay, I gotta stop. It's too cringe.
Yeah, this is.
He told some Gamergate jokes with the sock puppet because the presumption is that Gamergate was a bunch of like a few people making multiple sock puppet accounts. Yeah, so not super effective. He used jokes, not effective. I feel like he's trying to be like the Kevin Smith of gaming or something. Yeah, it's cringe. It is. It should be. That's exactly right. So we got like all the these are guys in the industry, big guys. Like I mean, Tim Schafer made some good games. I remember Brutal Legend. I have Brutal Legend, and I still think it's good. I think it lost like it's kind of directionless. It was trying to do too many things. And what was didn't he make the game where you're like a biker guy? I can't remember the
Yeah,
name.
Full Throttle.
Full Throttle, yes. Full Throttle, yes. And of course, Psychonauts, which I guess I never played, but I heard it was good. But now that I know Anita was involved with Psychonauts 2, maybe Psychonauts 2 is a great game. Maybe this is another one of those, Slay the Spire situations. But even if it is, like, I mean, I'm sorry, but you got to leave a message.
Well, I know people
right?
speak about Psychonauts with reverence. I've never heard anybody tell me I need to play Psychonauts 2. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. All right. So this is going a little over time, guys, but I got to get through the rest of this story. So, let me see. He did one of his other jokes was, and this is a pretty good one too, because it does mention something else. He said, "How many gamer gators does it take to make a single piece of armor? 50. 1 to do the modeling, 1 to do the materials, and 48 to tweet that it's not your shield," which was a direct jab at the other hashtag, the sister hashtag to Gamergate, which is hashtag not your shield, which was essentially minorities and women that supported Gamergate. They were saying, look, you don't use this as a shield to essentially make the claims that like Gamergate's just a bunch of like straight white males, because that was like the before there were Nazi chuds, there were straight white males. And of course, they just throw that out because how could women or minorities support Gamergate? They must not actually be women and minorities. Now, I hate that line of reasoning on both sides. I think to use, to use minorities to like debunk these people is silly because they don't really care at the end of the day about like what you are. They just see you as an obstacle. But anyway, that happened. And then we get to today, where she is credited as a consultant on Slay the Spire 2, which triggered a wave of review bombing on Steam. This covers her full arc from critic to consultant. So she has never really gone away. She still does this stuff. As a matter of fact, if I go to her website, I bet I can look at her projects and see what she is working on. So if we go to Anita's website again, and we'll look at this really quick. We have all of her videos. So we have this is all of her stuff so that it lives somewhere else. And we have books that she's written. Yes. History versus Women, The Defiant Lives They Don't Want You to Know, The State of Play, Creators and Critics on Video Game Culture, Vampires, Audience Consumption of the Modern Vampire. Well, that's weird. Intersectional Tech, Black Users in Digital Gaming. And there were events. And so she's doing well. She's doing very, very well. And I think it's important that you guys understand that this person has not disappeared. They have not been shamed off the internet. They have not lost everything. As a matter of fact, They are thriving. And more than that, they are working in the industry and they are making games, or at least they are part of it. So,
and they're insulated in such a way that you only find out about their involvement generally after the fact, such as we've had happen just now.
Yeah. Again, we can look at like some of the companies she's worked for. So let's treat this like a Sweet Baby Inc. thing, right? So she's worked with Devolver Digital, Double Fine, Landfall, Triband, Megacrit, Ubisoft. Now, of course, I don't know what she did with.
And we all know Ubisoft. During the timeline of events and all this is when Ubisoft was going about how do we go and make faux independent games and be able to take WF money and funnel it out and disperse it in a way that we can, not be seen as being directly responsible for. So we can say, oh, no, these are creative voices out there that are independent that just want to make the games that they want to make. And then, of course, we find out that it's all front-loaded, dark-moneyed projects that are done specifically to affect culture through messaging.
Yep. So there you go. Inclusive content design by Anita Sarkeesian, which includes things like sensitivity reading. I don't know if you guys don't know about that, but that's a whole other can of worms we can get into.
Inclusivity by excluding specific groups of people, namely white people.
Also, just going after like timeless pieces of literature, like Dr. Seuss and Roald Dahl. So anyway, that was a quick and dirty history of Anita Sarkeesian and why Yeah, why was she involved with Slay the Spire 2? Well, because she was a fixture in the industry. She seems like it's a good way to supposedly promote your product, and you should be terrified if you don't comply and you don't allow her to work on your project. So,
she's effectively an agent for the WF in the games industry.
yep. All right, let me read some of your comments, and then we're gonna wrap the show up. I might do another video on this or just edit this one. I have to decide on that. Okay. So Frank Blaskowitz says such weakness on display. I think this is in reference to Tim Schafer.
Mm-hmm.
BS Doomslayers 26 STFU Cuck. He's not talking to me. I think he's talking to Boogie. Boogie is a cuck, he says earlier in the live stream or whatever.
Well,
I mean, Boogie is
broken clocks can be right.
Definitely a mama's boy, but he was right
twice
about
a
that.
day.
Definitely a mama's boy though.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm no super huge fan of his by any means, but what he was saying that day was still valid. So.
Robert Johnson says, after the failure of vampire shooter Redfall, lead designer Harvey Smith says that Microsoft's closure of Arcane Studios came as a shock. Such help, such progress. Wow.
Right.
Yes. BS Doomslayer says cringe. Deadly Do Right, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Norwegian says Brutal Legend was awesome. Yeah, I liked the design a lot, but I wish it was just an action adventure game and not like a real-time strategy game. I thought that was like a weird thing to add in there. Zerang says women live to be 80 years old. She's got 50 years to go in a role she doesn't necessarily need to retire from. She'll be the RBG of games, Ruth Bader Ginsburg of games. Yeah.
Right.
She was when she did that like birthday thing where she made like a mock wedding, which is intended to mock weddings itself, by the way. She was 40 or 41 at that time. And that was years ago. So she's getting up there, bro. It was about the guy Lash talking to Anita. Oh, right. The guy from the Dishonored guy. Yeah. That's right. Yes, there was a lot of caving and shit there. All right. Norwegian says, like Pop says, 40 to 80 is a long time in box wine and Catland. Team Domino says Boogie did lie about having cancer for money. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not saying he's,
yeah, I'm not saying he's an angel. I know about that. What I'm saying is it's like John said, broken clock is right twice a day. So, and I think in that he was just trying to be diplomatic. And I'm just saying like somebody can be wrong and even like maybe a bad person, but there's always somebody that's a lot worse. I'm not concerned with Boogie. He's not working in the industry like fucking everything up,
Right.
So and look, Anita's not the only person. She's just a symptom. I'm just saying but the symptom is getting a lot of money, a lot of clout, and a lot of support. And they're still like this massive success for Slay the Spire 2. It could only it's going to look good on her CV, which she's going to use to get more jobs. So
and that's
we just
basically
what I'm asking though is if you care about this, when a new project comes along, I would look to see if she might be involved with it. Now, what they'll probably do is hide her name, maybe not credit her, maybe give her a pseudonym, maybe change the way it's written. I don't know. But I think that it's probably something to consider. I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying that she was one of the people, because this is a top-down control state initiative. So they found the people, and she's just one of the people. And so as long as she's dutiful and does her part, yeah, she's pretty much vested and insulated now. I guess that is one of the things that I try to bring up whenever we talk about this kind of stuff is, as I mentioned, you go and you kill the organization. That's an organization. Someone can go make a new organization and commit to the exact same fuckery and, magnify it, because now they go and, what may have been one concentrated point has now been diluted out into 4 other places that then are able to be built up to the same level of where that first one was. And now you've quantified the problem to some degree. So, the idea is that ultimately there are always going to be people like this in the industry at this point in time, because they created a whole structure for it. And so, you just need to always be vigilant on what you are getting involved in, because there are a lot of things that are going to have these subtle connections that you won't find out about until later on. And so, like we were saying, find out who they're doing their work with, And once you know about it, then you know going forward that this is somebody that is at least compromised, if not outright corrupted. So act accordingly to your principles and values at that point. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I did it. That's a little over
Indeed.
time, but we got
Yeah,
it
not too
done.
bad.
So that was basically one topic, basically the story of Anita Sarkeesian's rise, her peak, her ability to manipulate the culture and media, and media's complicitness in that, going from YouTube to Colbert to the United Nations to doing game in getting
Consulting.
involved with the games themselves, like basically where she is now as a consultant. And you might say that's a fall from grace, but I think that's exactly where she wants to be. So
Right.
I just thought you guys would like to know. If you didn't know, then I hope that you found this to be useful. And if you did know, then maybe you just enjoyed like this trip down memory lane in whatever way you could.
To your point, yeah, she's exactly where she wants to be, because she's one of these sees the means of production types of people.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so,
Absolute communist for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Intersectional feminist of the max. So, failed upwards, exactly. And Facebook room named after her. I mean, she'll probably get a building at some point, maybe even a monument. I don't know. So, anyway, with that said, I'm going to wrap the show up. I got nothing else to cover. So, John, where are you going to be at for the rest of the day and next week?
I suppose after this I gotta see if Will's still doing his thing, and I'll probably join in on that. But then otherwise, you can always just find me at 11 a.m. Eastern throughout the week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays over on his channel, with, of course, Will and Rhoda, and then Toasty often joins in as well. And then Toasty and I are on her channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And we do a variety of different things there. We do panel shows on the weekend shows, and then we kind of do a little interview, get to know content creators on Tuesdays, and our follow-up reviews on Thursdays. But I'm not sure if we're doing the episode tomorrow. She was scheduled to be part of Chrissy's show, but with everything that's happened in the last couple days, I'm not sure if she's still going to be part of that panel, or if it's going to get rescheduled or what. So we might have a show tomorrow, might not. So just I guess follow Toasty to keep up to date on whether that's going through. But I do want to thank everybody who hung out with us today to get in a little bit more information on this figure within the game industry, as much as that may be to our chagrin. But thanks for all the likes, shares, follows, the reposts, all the things you do to support us around here. We do greatly appreciate it. Always awesome conversations with you, Brian. But with that said, y'all have a wonderful weekend going forward. Of course, safe travels ahead, and be awesome as always.
Okay, well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave me a comment, let me know what you guys think about all the stuff we went over on the show today. I know it's just one topic, but I think it's important that people understand like how we got here, because I know a lot of people who are still like wondering about that. And this gives you like a peek into it. It's definitely an ideological problem. I warned Gamergate 1 about this. I warned people that Anita Sarkeesian wasn't going away. She was just going to like get work in the industry, and she has. So I was right. But what are you going to do? I just be informed, and remember, like the one thing they can't do right now is make you buy their products. So, use your money wisely, and act accordingly. But with all that said, I will see you guys starting with more Half-Life 2 next week. I'm not sure when yet, but we will get back on that. So with all that said, please share the video. I appreciate that, because sharing is caring. Thanks, guys, so much for coming on this episode of The Week in Culture, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Long live Vivian.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
maybe say, we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.